What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today we're talking about probably the most exciting and interesting topic in Maple Leafs land right now, and that is Mitch Marner. Whether or not the Maple Leafs are going to keep him or they're going to trade him. So if you guys are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Join the squad. Love to have you guys here. I know there's a ton of you guys that watch these videos consistently that aren't subscribed. If you want to see more from me this summer, there's going to be a ton. And if you just like the video, just like it. It does help me a little bit, and I would appreciate that. Thank you very much in advance. But man, Mitch Marner, this Mitch Marner saga is going to be crazy. Like, I feel like we get into these types of battles with the media and the player and the team and the GM like every year in Leafs land. Like, think about it. The first round of contract negotiations with Marner, Nylander, Matthews, even though Matthews actually was kind of an easier one than the other two. You know, the John Tavares saga, the We Can and We Will saga, the Marlowe trade. You know, there's so many different things where it was so hot and cold in Leafland where it's like, okay, a lot of people hate this, a lot of people love it. But this is probably the most polarizing thing since the John Tavares signing that has come out of Maple Leaf land. And Mitch Marner getting traded would potentially shake up this team more than it's been shaken up since the John Tavares move. Now, let's take our pieces a little bit from everywhere before we get into our opinions, and I want you guys to sound off down below as well. So, obviously, the Maple Leafs still got stuck in round one this season. After getting to round two last year and looking a little bit better, they just go right back to what they usually do, and that's getting bounced in the first round. And I don't say that to be disrespectful, but it's just the truth. This team can't get out of the first round, and they are not a team that looks deadly enough to move on past a few rounds. And Mitch Marner has been a player that's shown up a little bit in the playoffs, but not enough to where his contract demands are and how much he is currently getting paid. And that's not to say it's just on him. And I think a lot of people will get that twisted, and I don't want anybody twisting my words because I see it in the comments all the time. I'm going to say it very clearly at the beginning of this video. Mitch Marner is a absolutely fantastic hockey player. This is a bona fide superstar winger player in the NHL. In the regular season, this guy puts up video game numbers. He's incredible. In the playoffs, he's still decent, but he's not good enough to what the Leafs are paying him. And in terms of who's next to go and who makes the most sense to go, unfortunately, Mitch Marner checks pretty much every box. And here's why. First of all, Mitch Marner is without a contract past this season. William Nylander and Austin Matthews are extended longer term, especially William Nylander, who signed a little bit more recent. But Matthews and Nylander aren't going anywhere. John Tavares, there's no shot that he's waiving that no-move clause. He moved his entire family out of Long Island. He came back home, whatever. He took a little bit of a pay cut to come to Toronto. If you don't believe me, go look it up. San Jose offered $14 million per season for Tavares in free agency, and it seems like other teams did as well. But some reports were even saying 16. I don't believe that. But he's not going anywhere. He's not waiving. And there's a good chance that guy's going to say, give me like very cheap amount of money for me to stick around. I don't want to move my kids out of here. Let's just get something done. Whether or not the Leafs want to get it done is up to them. But Mitch Marner has a lot of trade value. Teams acquiring him after July 1st will only be paying less than $1 million in real money. His average annual value will stay the same on the salary cap, but teams that don't have the actual cash will get him under $1 million. And again, he's a fantastic hockey player. If a team that's kind of in the middle of the pack wants to make a playoff push, Mitch Marner can get you probably to the playoffs. I don't know how much further than that, but he can get you there. And there's still a chance that this guy just unlocks something by going to another team. But the Maple Leafs need value back. So they need to trade somebody of value to get value back. And that's Mitch Marner. So there's been talks recently, and we'll pull this up here from the Leafs Nation, but it's quotes from, I believe, Pierre LeBrun. So on Tuesday, Brad Treliving talked about the situation, saying that Mitch controls a lot of the situation. If there's a way to make our team better, we're going to do it, but we're certainly not trying to make a trade just so we can pound our chest and say, look, we're different. And there's also been reports that Mitch Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, said, look, we're not negotiating a contract, especially we're not talking until July 1st. And we're also not entertaining a trade. We will play out this year's contract, and then we will find out what we're going to do in free agency, which is a big no-no for the Maple Leafs. And if that is confirmed, I guarantee you the Maple Leafs will be pushing to try to get a trade done. But that brings you back to that quote from Pierre LeBrun. Mitch Marner controls a lot of this. Why? The no movement clause. Mitch Marner has an NMC, which means that he can decide whether or not he's going to get traded. Now, mind you, the team can basically say, look, we don't want you here, which the Leafs probably aren't going to do. But Brad Treliving could say, look, man, we're going in a different direction. We don't want to sign you here long term, and we need to move you. And there's lots of teams that are willing to pay you a ton of money on an 8-year sign-and-trade extension, and we're going to get you out of here. If Mitch still says no, well, now you've damaged him in terms of maybe keeping him with an extension if you don't trade him. He's probably walking to free agency. So the Maple Leafs are kind of backed into a corner a little bit here because it seems as though Mitch Marner doesn't want to leave Toronto, which, again, I am not one of these people that is going to boo Mitch Marner. I'm not going to cheer against him. I've met him. He's a nice guy. He's not very talkative with the fans, but he is a nice guy. He signed a jersey for my grandma. He's a nice guy, right? But I don't care about that stuff. I'm still going to cheer for him as a player because I want my team to win, right? But I think in my heart of hearts, and again, my opinion is just my opinion, the Leafs have to trade him. They have to. This is over. This is done. The Maple Leafs need to make a move. And that 10.9 is a lot of money. If the Maple Leafs can take that 10.9, even though, again, we'll look at his numbers, he's been very, very good. Like, this guy is pushing 100 points every season he plays. It's just, only the one outlier when it comes to how good of a playoff he had. He needs to be a game changer, okay? And that's the thing. This whole conversation could happen again next year. They might be like, look, we're trading Nylander next year as well because he's not doing anything. Let's just focus on this year. But the Maple Leafs need to make something happen here. And unfortunately, Mitch Marner is the guy that's going to have to move. And whether or not he wants to do that or not, again, we'll have to find out. But the Maple Leafs' biggest asset they can get from this is cap space. If they're able to get a young forward and a young defenseman, or maybe a young defenseman and a young goalie that are NHL ready, or like a really talented defenseman who's like a top 2, top 3 type defenseman plus a first round pick that the Leafs could also trade for another asset, the Maple Leafs could dangle 2 first round picks for another top 4 defenseman and a goalie or something like that. It's assets, asset management, and multiplying your assets instead of focusing on one. And again, I know people hate when I bring this up or when anybody brings this up. I understand that the pandemic affected everybody and affected every NHL team. But the we can and we will movement with Kyle Dubas was because the Maple Leafs were going to get massive cap increases like the rest of the NHL was. And to be completely honest with you, if the pandemic never happened, and again, I know that's a big thing, but God, who could have predicted a global pandemic? Let's all agree on that, okay? Let's just agree on that. Who could have predicted that? The salary cap right now would be over $100 million. And it's not. It's at like 87. The Leafs would easily be able to have all of these guys on the roster, plus probably Zach Hyman. And look at how he's turned out. Plus somebody else. That's an extra $20 million in cap space. And probably more than that. It would have been probably at around $105 million. That does come into play. But guess what? Too bad. Everybody got affected by it. Now, mind you, teams like Arizona and those teams were not in the same situation. Okay? They were not building towards the Stanley Cup. They were barely hitting the cap floor with it at 70-something million. Okay? So the thing is this is a lot of unfortunate circumstances mixed with underperforming. And that's exactly what it is. Underperforming. Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Morgan Riley, John Tavares. I can't say Austin Matthews. In bits and pieces of everybody's career, they've underperformed. And hell, maybe even Matthews for a little bit in the playoffs. Nylander and Matthews have showed up mostly in the playoffs, in my opinion, in different ways, right? If Mitch Marner and Auston Matthews are deemed game changers, I need that more than just the regular season. We need that in the playoffs. And if we're talking asset management, Mitch Marner is the asset that's going to make this team different, right? So I want your guys' comments down below. This was the first video because, dude, there's going to be this talk all summer long. So if you guys are new here, like this video and subscribe. As always, go Leafs go. Sound off in the comments. I love you guys. Again, if you subscribe or like the video, it does help me a lot. I would appreciate that. I really want to be a full-time content creator. That is the goal. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.